One of the things, if you're going through these books of the Bible, and right now the letters of Paul with me, is you see certain themes and even certain aspects of writing letters that are repeated. And at the end of Colossians and in the beginning of 1 Thessalonians, which we'll turn to next week, we see the emphasis on Paul always being a part of a team. He is never doing ministry on his own. And this is consistent with Jesus never sent out the disciples alone. He always sent them out in pairs so that they had support and encouragement. And so our verse of the day is a reflection of that. It's in Colossians chapter 4, verse 10, which says, Aristarchus, my fellow prisoner, greets you, as does Mark, the cousin of Barnabas, concerning whom you have received instructions. If he comes to you, welcome him. I kind of titled this, Getting the Team Back Together. Now, you may find when you're reading the Bible on your own, you may get to a verse like this where there's several names, and you may just kind of glaze over a little bit or think, well, this doesn't have anything to do with me or my life. But that's a mistake, because there's always things we can learn in the verses of the Bible. And there's something really significant about this verse. You may or may not recall that if you read through the book of Acts, that Paul and Barnabas were an amazing ministry team. Barnabas was the one who took a chance when nobody else believed Paul, when Paul had had his conversion, his experience. Barnabas was the one who put his own reputation on the line and spoke up for Paul, defended him, advocated for him, and helped to usher him into Christian ministry and even into the group of the leadership of the church in Acts chapter 15. But even though Barnabas and Paul had a significant ministry together, they unfortunately eventually had a sharp disagreement. And that disagreement was about John Mark, who was Barnabas' younger cousin. They took John Mark with them on a mission trip, and for whatever reason, John Mark had left that venture. And in Paul's eyes, it appears, he viewed John Mark as a quitter. And the next time, when Paul and Barnabas were going to go on a trip, Barnabas wanted to bring Mark. Paul was adamant that he didn't have the right stuff and he didn't want him. And the disagreement became so sharp that they parted ways. And Barnabas took his younger cousin Mark, and Paul took Silas, and God's ministry spread. So why is this one verse so significant? Because it shows that the circle has come back around. And Barnabas, after pouring his leadership and his wonderful encouragement and mentoring into Mark, obviously there was a reconciliation at some point, because now Paul is saying that Mark is with him, along with Aristarchus. They're in prison. Aristarchus is in prison, and Mark, he's given instructions that if Mark comes to the church there, that they are to welcome him. And I just think it's a beautiful example of forgiveness, restoration, reconciliation, both on the part of Barnabas not giving up on Mark, and Paul being open to giving Mark a second chance. There may be someone in your life or your circle of relationship who you may need to forgive, or to encourage, or to give a second chance. I pray Barnabas and Paul and young Mark will give you motivation to do so.